Richard the Lionheart has become a figure of legend. He is seen as the epitome of a medieval warrior, a brave knight who fought for his beliefs. As the siege came to an end, he made the decision to depart for his home in England. One notable incident involved Richard's valiant rescue of Balian of Ibelin, a fellow Crusader leader who had been taken captive by the Muslims. Richard's swift reaction and strategic brilliance in the rescue operation showcased his leadership qualities and military prowess. Yet despite these heroic acts, the Crusader forces faced setbacks. His absence was deeply felt on the throne, and without a monarch to lead them, the kingdom was vulnerable. Richard's mother, Eleanor of Aquitaine, recognized the urgency of the situation. Leopold appeared to be enjoying the prospect of holding the English king captive, deriving pleasure from Richard's powerless state. Firstly, he leveraged the absence of any official trade or diplomatic relations between England and Austria. There was no established framework for such dealings. Secondly, he took advantage of Richard's lack of diplomatic support in the region. She also reached out to the wealthy merchants and traders of the City of London, appealing to their sense of patriotism and urging them to contribute to the cause. Furthermore, Queen Eleanor did not neglect diplomacy. She sent envoys to various European courts, including those of France and Germany, seeking support and potential loans from friendly nations. In February 1194, representatives of the English crown arrived at Leopold's court carrying an enormous chest, purportedly filled with gold. It may not have contained the exact number of marks stipulated, but it certainly represented a substantial sum. After enduring months of captivity and uncertainty, his triumphant return brought relief and joy to the English people. Leopold, his face reportedly drained of color upon realizing the weight of the chest, immediately ordered its opening. Citizens flocked to the streets to witness his arrival and celebrate his homecoming. Tensions with France remained high, and Richard found himself drawn back into continental conflicts. Despite these external pressures, Richard's return marked a turning point for England. It symbolized the resilience of the kingdom and the enduring legacy of its warrior king. Now, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we release new videos, each promising a captivating journey through history. Thank you for joining us today, and until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep exploring the rich tapestry of our past. This outpouring of affection solidified Richard's status as a legendary warrior in English lore. How do you think Richard the Lionheart would have fared if he hadn't been released? Do you think England would have replaced him with another ruler permanently? We've delved into the reasons behind his imprisonment, the monumental ransom demanded by Duke Leopold, and the Herculean efforts undertaken by Queen Eleanor to secure his release. Richard's journey from captivity to his triumphant homecoming was a testament to his legendary status as a medieval warrior, and the lengths to which his devoted mother would go to bring him home. Or how do you think his brother, John, would have fared as an usurper? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Verifying the contents, he promptly signed documents releasing Richard from captivity. Recognizing the toll that his absence had taken on England, he focused on restoring stability and order. He reasserted his authority, strengthened royal institutions, and worked to quell any internal rebellions that had emerged during his captivity. These diplomatic missions aimed to not only secure financial aid, but also to build political pressure on Richard's captors to negotiate a more reasonable ransom, or release him altogether. Finally, after months of captivity, Richard set foot on English soil once again. He rode into London on March 1194, accompanied by his wife, Queen Berengaria of Navarre, and a small retinue. The citizens of London turned out in full force to greet their returning monarch. The streets were adorned with decorations, and the sound of bells chimed in celebration. Additionally, Eleanor summoned the English barons, the powerful nobility of the time, and asked them to provide financial assistance. She reminded them of their loyalty oaths to Richard and the importance of restoring the king to his rightful place on the throne. Richard was far from home, and his reputation as a formidable warrior didn't necessarily translate to diplomatic influence in this part of Europe. And finally, he played on the desperation of the English court. With Richard captured, England's vulnerability was evident, and the court was eager to bring their king back. Leopold knew he could capitalize on this eagerness. She acted swiftly to secure her son's release from captivity. To understand the impact on England, it helps to delve into the economic and political dynamics of the time. While Queen Eleanor and others acted as regents during his absence, the The lack of a monarch caused administrative challenges and governance issues. The Queen's efforts to secure Richard's release were nothing short of extraordinary. She embarked on an extensive tour across England and Richard's European domains, personally appealing to nobles and influential figures for financial aid. Her determination to free her son knew no bounds. In addition, there were those within England who saw Richard's prolonged absence as an opportunity to seize power. Notably, Richard's brother, John, sought to take advantage of the situation and challenge Richard's claim to the throne. At the time, England was not a wealthy country compared to some of its European counterparts. Its economy was primarily based on agriculture and trade, and while trade existed with other nations, the demand for such a hefty ransom posed a substantial financial challenge. Richard's efforts to relieve the siege of Jaffa were thwarted, and he was forced to retreat to Tyre. However, fate had a different plan in store for him. He negotiated a truce with Saladin, establishing a 3-year period of peace. This truce allowed for the peaceful coexistence of Christian and Muslim pilgrims at Jerusalem's holy sites, providing a temporary respite from hostilities. Following the truce, Richard returned to England, where he was greeted with celebrations upon his arrival in London. His exploits in the Holy Land had cemented his status as a legendary warrior. During his journey, while passing through Austria, he was captured and imprisoned by Duke Leopold V on the orders of the Holy Roman Emperor Henry VI. According to chronicles, Richard treated the Muslim leader with respect and even offered to share Jerusalem with him, but Saladin refused, choosing war instead. Richard decided to fight back, launching a surprise attack on Damascus. Though initially successful, the assault resulted in heavy casualties. Discouraged by the losses and facing criticism for mismanaging the siege, Richard opted to abandon his campaign in the Levant. Upon his capture, Richard was stripped of his royal garments. Manacles were fastened around his wrists and ankles, and his head was shaved as a humiliation tactic. Shockingly, the Austrian duke planned to parade Richard through Vienna in chains, further degrading his status as a captive monarch. Now exactly how much was this ransom? Well, sources from the time give us an idea. The records indicate that the initial ransom demand amounted to 150,000 silver marks. Today, let me put that number into perspective for you. If we assume an average value of 1 mark equal to roughly 68 modern US dollars, the ransom would have totaled about $10 million. That's a lot of money. When Richard and his army arrived at Acre, they struggled to gain a foothold against the well-defended Muslim city. However, one crucial advantage the Crusaders possessed was the use of a giant siege tower named Samson. Samson was a massive wooden structure equipped with hooks and pulleys to hoist knights and supplies onto the city walls. It served as an essential tool in the siege operations, but when the Muslims managed to set fire to Samson, the Crusaders suffered a significant setback. This attack on Samson deeply angered Richard, who vowed revenge. He proceeded to destroy the mosque at Acre in retaliation, a symbolic response that further escalated tensions with the Muslim forces. This act enraged the Muslim leader, Saladin, and became a pivotal moment leading to the siege. Richard, true to his courageous nature, drew his sword and lunged at the Duke, narrowly missing him. Although unsuccessful, this audacious move gave Richard's knights the opportunity to retaliate, killing several of Leopold's men. This violent incident revealed the depth of animosity between Richard and the Austrian ruler. But why did Leopold hold such a deep grudge against Richard? Flashback to the Siege of Acre. The Siege of Acre continued, marked by numerous clashes and strategic maneuvers by both sides. Despite facing challenges, Richard's determination remained unwavering. As the Third Crusade progressed, Richard's strategic focus shifted to diplomacy. However, the story takes a darker turn as accusations of treachery surfaced. Now let's return to the present. Richard's capture by Leopold created a major crisis for England. Meanwhile, Richard found himself in a perilous situation within Leopold's dungeons. His captors sought a substantial ransom for his release. The amount they demanded was staggering. Furthermore, there was no guarantee that paying the ransom would secure Richard's immediate release. How did the news of Richard's capture and the ransom demand affect England? Moreover, England's political stability was directly linked to Richard's presence. So how did Queen Eleanor cope with this situation? How did she manage to collect the ransom? Eleanor first turned to Archbishop John of York, a religious leader with significant influence in England, requesting his support in raising funds for the ransom. In fact, the barons, while initially reluctant to part with their money, eventually agreed to contribute a substantial portion of their wealth towards the ransom. So what happened next? The efforts paid off. Eventually, Queen Eleanor managed to raise the colossal sum of 150,000 silver marks. News of Richard's impending release spread like wildfire. Across England, people erupted in joy, their cheers echoing the sentiment, "Our king is coming home." Now, how did Richard's return impact England? Richard's return to England in 1194 was a monumental event that had profound implications for the kingdom. The immediate impact was a surge of public euphoria. Richard was greeted as a hero, having escaped captivity and returned safely. Following his return, Richard wasted no time in addressing the challenges facing his kingdom. However, Richard's reign following his return was not without its challenges. Now, before we go, I want to ask you something. That concludes our 9th episode, exploring the fascinating events surrounding Richard the Lionheart's capture and eventual return to England. Before we part ways, remember to give this video a thumbs up if you found it informative and entertaining. Your support means a lot to us.